So welcome to day 2 of the National Honey Show here at Sandown Park in Surrey. I've been downstairs and there's lots of people visiting the trade stands and attending the lectures. And it gives me great pleasure to be here talking to Humberto Boncristiani, who is one of the lecturers over the course of the Honey Show. And he's giving 3 talks really on the subject of honeybee health. So yesterday it was pesticides, today it's viruses, and the third tomorrow is on monitoring world honeybee health. So maybe we could start by just giving something about your background. We've met at various meetings around the world, and I know you started off researching in Brazil as a virologist working on human pathogens, and were then brought into the United States to advise on what was happening to honeybees. So, and then you were at the University of Florida for quite a number of years. And what are you doing now?
After the University of Florida, what my commitment there was to work directly with commercial beekeepers in America. A different kind of beekeeping that's different from all over the world. To manage 20, 50, sometimes 100,000 hives is a completely different game. I need to readapt myself and learn a lot. And from that teachings that I got at the University of Florida, working with them, I decided that it would be better for me to open my own consultant business where I could help them to find problems in the operation, optimization of operation, and also, which is being most of my time now, helping companies to bring new technologies, new products and services to the beekeeping industry. That's what I'm focusing right now.
So, of course, the commercial beekeeping industry in the United States has had a bad year. Tell us about what commercial beekeepers have been finding this year.
Yes, there is ups and downs. Commercial beekeeping in America is very intense, and sometimes those things happen, those drops. And there is a recent paper from the USDA showing that without a doubt, there was a problem with miticides getting resistance, and also what they found in high quantities was gigantic amount of viruses, basically melting those bees from the inside out. And I think we're going to cover a little bit this afternoon in my talk, to try to teach people how viruses, specifically that family, take advantage of any disturbance in the nature and in the environment.
So tell us about which viruses are the problem. I mean, in the United Kingdom, we've had Varroa for 30-something years, and it's sort of settled down, and many people don't have a huge problem with Varroa, but if they do, the symptoms tend to be deformed bees and so on, which is deformed ring virus. But that's not the particular problem in the States at the moment, is it?
It is a combination of viruses. The formal wing virus is definitely one of the most dangerous ones, but there is a combination of other picorna-like viruses, which are RNA viruses, and the power of those viruses is their capability to multiply very fast and change. So they very easy adapt to every new thing that's happening in the environment. And if there is a new pesticide and create a new environment, boom, a new virus is going to come up from that pool of genetic, from the old virus. So it's a combination of them. I don't like to point fingers or names, because to me, those names doesn't mean anything. It's about the genetic of the cloud of variants that are able to adapt very fast to new conditions. So whatever name is us as humans trying to organize things. And sometimes people can get lost in those, oh, this name, or this one, which one is this? No, it's the whole. We need to take a step back and look from a different angle.
Yes, and of course, Varroa has been established in Europe since the 1970s, and in the UK here since the 1990s, and the United States since the 1980s. But of course, in Australia, on the other side of the world, it's much more recent.
Yes.
And they're suffering big losses as well. And there's some very recent work sort of looking at what actually might be the cause of the problems in Australia. Maybe you could say a little about that.
Is the history repeating itself? Wherever varroa mite goes, they start a new cycle. And in Australia, the bees didn't have varroa for many years, never had varroa. So they're not used to the new challenge, which is the viruses they bring in. Varroa is a vector. If you take the viruses out of the equation, in my opinion, varroa doesn't do too much damage.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah.
I don't think so. So the problem is the viruses that varroas transmit. And sometimes I think the beekeepers are focusing too much in breeding for varroa, for example, or taking care of varroa, and not because they cannot see even the symptoms of those viruses. Only a couple of those we're able to see them. Like the formal wing virus, you can see the wings deformed. And other viruses, you can see little features that happen in the bees, but the majority of those viruses, you can't see
nothing until they're dead.
Yes, until they're melted.
Yeah.
And then you can do anything about it. So the beekeepers are not focusing in the problem. And breeding, for example, breeding for mites only and thinking about mites only, I don't think is going to be a solution. You need to consider both problems, the mites as a vector and the real problem, which is the viruses that melt the bees from the inside out.
Yeah, so it's the tritrophic thing. It's the bee, it's the mites, it's the viruses, and if you only focus on one of those, you're not
missing.
going to come a solution.
You're gonna miss.
Yeah.
You're gonna keep doing and repeating the same thing and not getting anywhere, unfortunately.
But to come back to the commercial beekeepers in the United States that you're working with, it's clear that the problem has been that they've been relying on just one chemical to control the mites. And that chemical now doesn't work anymore. So lots of colonies have died because there were lots of mites and lots of viruses. And it's easy from this side of the Atlantic to sort of look at that and think, they should have learned to do things differently. But it's actually really difficult if you're in a commercial situation to change things. How would you suggest commercial beekeepers should adapt their ways of working?
Those losses, people know me for defending the commercial beekeepers, and I'm going to keep doing that because, in my view, on the ground, working with them on a daily basis, I think too much of the noise comes from small amount of them. So all those big losses that happen, they didn't come from the majority of them. There is a lot of big, gigantic commercial beekeepers in the United States that are not getting hit with that thing because they have fantastic management system. They are able to train their head of each operation very precisely, and the communication from the crew, the head of the beekeeping, and the master beekeeper are very well. When you have those components in place, they don't have problems, and that's the majority there. That's something that I learned from the ground is that the problems get too much attention and too much noise. So when you see the 60%, I know commercial beekeepers in America that didn't get hit with lost almost anything. So what's the explanation? Somebody messed up, or a combination of things. So, and there's those factors. So for the people that got hit, they found the problem. There is the mite side resistance. There is a lot of viruses that come with that. But I think people need to realize that if you do it right, like the other people that didn't get hit, you're fine. So you need to balance the things and not get caught with the news and the war is gonna end. No, beekeepers know what they're doing, and the commercial beekeepers in America, besides people like to say it's too much, it's big, it's the better, healthy looking bees that I ever see. A lot of those operations, yes.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. So sort of widening things a little bit, we've been talking about varroa and viruses, but of course there are many other pests and pathogens of honeybees.
Yes.
And when you were at the University of Florida, you were very involved in a project to sort of map where pests and diseases are in the world. Maybe you could say a little about that.
Yes, that's going to be my third talk. My first talk was about pesticides and how those pesticides interaction and synergisms are changing the environment and creating problems. This afternoon, my virology talk is going to be how those viruses take advantage of what's happening in nature right now. And the third talk tomorrow is going to be how we, in this project that's called World Honeybee Health, is monitoring what's happening with all those pathogens, taking advantage of the changes of the environment and whatever the beekeepers are doing to try to help their bees. And this project, it started here actually with Nicola. I think you guys started to be concerned first to monitor, because it's important to see where those pathogens are going, what part of the world. And I was just one of those people interested, and Jamie Ellis, my former boss, introduced me to that. Oh, do you want to do this? We need to do it, every 2 or 3 years, we need to monitor again. I decided, well, great, let's do it. So we put the team together, and I just realized that, wow, I'm gonna need more people. It's too much. After CCD, there was an explosion of research. So for me and the small team of 5, we're not able to monitor correctly. So we need to do a transition and maybe put this project in Colos. Mm-hmm. Colos is an international research beekeeping association where we have much more resources now. And there is a team with groups of people in every country monitoring where those diseases are appearing or not. So we're gonna, in the future, when we get there, I think we're gonna be able to see in almost real time what's going on regarding bee pathogens spreading around. And that's very interesting.
Yes, it is, as you said, it's a huge task. And these World Bee Health reports started out as, a paper-based exercise that was relatively straightforward, but the number of scientific papers that's published has grown out of all proportion and made it impossible for 1 or 2 people to do. So it's this international collaboration and so on.
Just like bees.
Yes, but I mean, it is really important, particularly where we've got new threats like Tropilelaps moving around the world and so on, to monitor, where its presence is. How is the best way for information to be recorded? Because you get sort of rumors that something like Tropilelaps is in the country, but can we always sort of rely on those? What's the basis for the quality control in the World Bee Health project there?
That's part of why we need a big team, because, for example, there are challenges. Sometimes it's rumors, beekeepers, when they talk with each other, from the same beekeeper, you can get 3 or 4 different stories. And some of them know more than others. And it might say that one mite is the other mite, and they don't know too much. So those reports, we cannot trust completely. However, we can put this in a different category and create those maps that we create in this project where, okay, this is 100% sure, there is a scientific article, people got involved, they confirmed. So there is a confirmation one. This is rumors. And also, on top of that, sometimes there is a language barrier. Things get lost in translation. So with these teams in different countries that speak the native language, we are able right now to be much more precise to get the information directly from the ground. So I believe this project is going to become one of the most important projects when we reach the level that we want to reach regarding how fast we can flow that information and create those maps and spread this information throughout the beekeeping world. I think it's going to be a fantastic monitoring model for all of us.
Because it's particularly important to have good quality information to convince governments in particular countries that they need to take action. So in this country at the moment, we're very concerned about imports of queens from various countries that could be bringing in Tropilelaps or small hive beetle or exotic viruses or whatever. So how do you see the project going in the future?
With the right resources, which the team is working very hardly right now to get and to establish this network of people working together, I think we are close. Once we finish, we start now with Varroa. We're creating those maps and communication systems to be very precise and very fast. Once we create that model and validate it, we're going to expand to all other diseases. So it's going to be much easier for us to monitor and create the right information for government, for example, to, if they see they can intervene, they're gonna have the right information right there to be used.
So I think we're sort of running towards our time, so maybe we sort of want to bring it to a close, but the honey show is open until tomorrow evening, and Humberto's talk on viruses will be at 4 o'clock this afternoon, so there's still time to set off and get here, and then tomorrow you'll be talking about World Honeybee Health. So thank you very much, and good luck with your talk later.
Thank you very much.